Hi everyone, Petrik here. Today's video will be about my July wrap-up. So yeah, today I will be talking about all the books that I finished in the month of July. And in the month of July, honestly, as far as quantity goes, this is definitely the lowest probably ever, because in the month of July, I finished reading only 3 books. And these 3 books consist of 2 novels and also 1 novella. I cannot help it. July was an incredibly busy month for me because of my upcoming trip to the UK and Worldcon. I had a lot of jobs that I need to finish first before I went on my trip. And yeah, there's a good chance you're watching this as I'm in the UK. Yeah, this is a pre-recorded video, but I still want to tell you about some of the books that I finished in the month of July. And yes, after 7 months, I finally found the third 5-star book of the year 2024. And no, this is not a fantasy book. I still haven't found a 5-star epic fantasy book, but I'm still happy to find a 5-star read regardless. And yes, that will be the first book I talk about today, and it is also my book of the month. And I'm talking about, of course, The Pillars of the Earth by Follett. Absolutely brilliant book. This book is more than 3 decades old now, and it is just terrific. I heard so many great things about this book for many years, and when I read this one, it exceeded my expectation. I gave this, as I said, a full 5 out of 5 stars, rating the characters. They are so well realized. The protagonists are likable but also flawed, but at the same time, the antagonists, especially the one that starts with the letter W, all of them are absolutely despicable, especially William. William is one of the most hateable villains across any book and any genre. Easily. He's utterly despicable, and Follett doesn't shy away from putting us readers in the mind of this character. And that's something that readers should know. It will not be pleasant to be reading the book and also his vile actions and minds. It is not meant to be pleasant, but at the same time, you cannot deny that this is one of the things that made The Pillars of the Earth so incredibly engaging. I still cannot believe just how good this book was, and I heard from some people that the second book in the Kingsbridge series, World Without End, some have agreed that it's even better than Pillars of the Earth, and I found that to be insane, because The Pillars of the Earth is already one of my favorite books now. It is one of the best historical fiction novels that I have ever read. And yes, for those of you who asked me about this book worked really well as a standalone novel. And as far as I know, every book in the Kingsbridge series, all of them are standalone tale. You can probably read World Without End without reading The Pillars of the Earth, because World Without End, that story takes place about 200 years after the events of The Pillars of the Earth. And even though this book is really big, it's more than 400,000 words long, it did not feel like it. It is so engaging. Every chapter, it never felt like they were wasted. I love every page of reading The Pillars of the Earth, really. If there's one thing that I would like to change, it's probably something at the beginning of the book. It's something about Tom and the development of Tom's relationship with Ellen. I felt like it happened way too quickly and also a bit incomprehensible in my opinion. But that's really, I guess, a minor issue in the grander scheme of things, because this is a really big book. And yeah, I love so many characters, especially Jack and also Prior Philip, even though, as I said, they are flawed characters. They are not perfect characters at all, but you just cannot help but want to root for them. So yeah, if you still haven't read The Pillars of the Earth yet and you want to know my full thoughts about it, I have posted a full spoiler-free review of this book on my YouTube channel. But if you don't want to listen to my YouTube review, or you don't want to read it, please just give this book a read. It is incredible. It deserves all the critical acclaim that it has received for so many years. And I look forward to reading World Without End. I'm not sure when I will do that though. I want to make sure that I have this arsenal of books when I'm in dire need of a new 5-star books. And I will use World Without End for that. But yeah, please read The Pillars of the Earth. It is incredible, and you will see this being mentioned again in my top favorite books of the year list. And moving on, after that, I finished a fantasy book, and this one is titled The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. This is the first book in the Rook and Rose trilogy, and well, the reason I read this one is I heard this is a Venetian epic fantasy, and I love the sound of reading Venetian epic fantasy, such as The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. And the advertisement is definitely correct. This is certainly a Venetian epic fantasy with patterns or tarot reading, for those of you who don't know. And also, it is an epic fantasy book that deals with the themes of identities, con, heist, and also clash between the rich and the poor. It is overall a good book compared to A Natural History of Dragons, because M.A. Carrick is written by Mary Brennan and also Alec Helms. Those two made up M.A. Carrick. And I have read the first two books in the Memoirs of Lady Trent series, and I enjoyed them, but I still haven't found myself completely impressed. And when I'm comparing A Natural History of Dragons and also A Mask of Mirrors, they are both completely different kind of fantasy books. But this one is more suited to my reading taste because this is definitely high fantasy, and also it's surprisingly more complex and intricate than I expected. If you are a reader who are fascinated and you want more details in your fantasy books, well, Mask of Mirrors is the book for you. You will see the description on the clothing in a very detailed fashion. Physical characters description, the world building, the history of the world, the history of the society, they are explained thoroughly, with some secrets to be explored, of course, in the second, and of course, I assuming the third book as well. But there are many things that made Mask of Mirrors really good. But I do have to give you some caution here, because this book is a slow burn, absolutely slow burn, and you will have to be patient for about the first half of the novel. I will argue that Mask of Mirrors is a bit bigger than it should be, in my opinion anyway. For the first half of the book, I did wonder whether it would get any better or not, but thankfully it did. After around 300 pages, it certainly got so much better. The second half is so much more engaging, the tension has been raised. So if you want to know which chapter to reach, it's chapter 12. The entire sequence in the Azrazai's dream, that's really the turning point of the Mask of Mirrors for me. That's when the book went from good and alright to something great, in my opinion. So yeah, I enjoyed reading this one, and I look forward to reading the second book, The Liar's Knot. I heard the second book, The Liar's Knot, is supposed to be the best book of the Rook and Rose trilogy, so I really look forward to finding out how good it would be, especially after I think the preparations for the world building, the characters have been established in the Mask of Mirrors. So yeah, I look forward to reading the second book as soon as I can. Probably next month, The Liar's Knot, as I said in my August TBR video. And finally, the last book that I managed to finish in the month of July, it was a surprisingly incredible book. And this is a novella, one of the best novella that I have read. This is Sistah Samurai, a samurai Champloo, Afro samurai, and also Sword of Kaigen inspired novella, but more on Afro Samurai and Samurai Champloo, in my opinion. If you have watched Afro Samurai and also Samurai Champloo and you enjoyed both of them, you don't need to hear anything else about Sistah Samurai. Just read this and you will definitely enjoy it. And I am, as you can probably tell, as a consumer of anime and manga on a daily basis, I love Afro Samurai and Samurai Champloo, and reading this definitely reminded me of watching those two anime again. It was so fun, entertaining, and yet it is not lacking of impact. The themes of adulthood, responsibility, sacrificing your glory days in exchange for something more important. These are some of the things that felt so relatable to me, and I found them from reading Sistah Samurai. The actions also were so incredibly fun, in my opinion, because this book, it contains Tamashi ink. Tamashi ink is soul ink. Tamashi is Japanese for soul, and Inksmith made this ink. Now, when you put this kanji, let's say you ink the kanji for fire in a talisman, and then you put this talisman on the sword, that sword will become a flaming sword. And that is exactly what happened in Sistah Samurai. But that's just one example. There is earth, there is water, there is protection, and many more. And I think there is a potential for this, I'm still not sure whether this is actually a series or not, but there is a really good potential for this to become a series, and I hope that happens, because this book, this world, it contains so much potential to be explored further. I really like reading the actions. The world and vibe, as I said, reminded me of Samurai Champloo and also Afro Samurai. But more importantly, the first-person narration in Sistah Samurai is superbly distinct. I love reading a book where the narration and the voice felt recognizable. Like, it really felt like Sistah Samurai is narrating her story to me in her voice. And I like it so much when I'm reading a book like that. Look, if you want to know my full thoughts about Sistah Samurai, just read my spoiler-free review on my Goodreads or on Novel Notions. But this one is only about 30,000 words long. I read this in one sitting, and I think it is such a good book to be read in the middle of our usual big fantasy or sci-fi books. It is such a good palate cleanser, in my opinion, and hopefully, as I said, there will be a sequel to it, and the themes of overcoming regrets is really evident in the text here. And yeah, please make sure to read this book. If you love anime, if you love Samurai Champloo, you love Afro Samurai, or maybe if you love a feudal Japan inspired fantasy. But more importantly, I think anime is really a good one. There is even a reference to Pokemon here, and it made me laugh. And I'm telling you, it's really rare for a book, for a fantasy book, to make me laugh or smile these days. That's one of the things that made Sistah Samurai really good. It's just so fun, entertaining, and also it is not lacking in impact. Easily one of the best novellas that I have ever read, and I hope you will pick it up. And those are really the 3 books that I managed to finish in the month of July. As I said, my book of the month is Pillars of the Earth. As for manga, I wasn't able to read a lot of them. I'm only reading some of the manga that I'm caught up with, such as Jujutsu Kaisen and also Dan. But I did continue reading Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint. And I think I'm at about chapter 60. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm around chapter 60 right now. And so far, I don't know if you have read Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint or not, but if you have, please let me know whether it gets much better or not, because so far it's not bad. I just think it's good, but at the moment the manhwa still feels a bit overrated in my opinion. It's good, but not as amazing as Solo Leveling from my perspective anyway, but I hope it gets much better later on. But yeah, those are all the books and manhwa that I finished in the month of July. As always, do let me know what you think about the books that I finished this month, and what was your favorite book in the month of July. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.